Everyone, this is the third webinar, and today we're going to be talking about the kinds of things that the scoring guide will be used to evaluate the business plans. And this is a little different from one we used last year, but it will, I think it will be easy for your students to follow. And if you have questions as we go along, don't hesitate to ask me. No, it doesn't want to forward the slide, though. Do you have to forward the slide, Mike?
Yep, I have to forward it.
Okay, go ahead.
There you go.
All right. So this, again, is brought to you by the Missouri Council on Economic Education. And I'm Patty Palmer. I'm the coordinator of the Entrepreneurship Challenge. Mike, who is our huge support cheerleader, is the president and the CEO of the Missouri Council on Economic Education. So in this capacity, I'm basically working with the Missouri Council. And we have a series of these webinars. The ones that have already been held are archived on that website, entrepreneurship2012.istart.org. And Mike's got it showing us right now. So where he has watch a webinar, then you can go in there and you can see the ones that we've had in the past. And then today's will be, after it's recorded, it will be uploaded. So you'll be able to check those out. And there will be some more postings coming along real quick for you to have for your students for your classroom. Okay. All right. So in the scoring guide, like I just said, it's going to be available at Mo Entrepreneurship, and it should be up there tomorrow. We've been doing, having some what you might call peer reviews, and sort of waiting for one last reply, and then I'll make any adjustments that have been recommended, and we'll get it posted. The guide is really, it really is sort of a map for your students, and I know they're used to using scoring guides, so I think it'll be pretty easy for them to follow. It's sort of, in my mind, an organizer for them for their business plan. However, we respect whatever style that you have been teaching your students. I know there's so many out there, and I don't want to confuse your class because we switch forms on them. So whatever you use is fine with us. We're just telling you the content that we would like to see in it. And one of the things that I think is we learn every year, and I think students' attention to detail is really important. As they're collaborating, if they would just take a few minutes to make sure everybody's on the same page as they start working from day to day, and I know how tough that is. All we can do is suggest it to them, and if they choose to go to that extent and be that conscientious, it'll just probably be to their credit, but many of them probably just do this naturally. Okay, Mike. All right. One of the things that we want to stress is that the very first page, I've called it a title page. It's almost maybe even better if it's called the cover page. But what we want on there is the name of the business, the team members, your school and school district, and the teacher's name. Now, however, throughout the rest of the business plan, we don't want that information. They can use first names because no one will know who they are if they're talking about themselves and being involved in the business. But references to your city or your school, we just try to keep it anonymous because we have judges around the state, and none of them have children in school anywhere that would cause them to have any bias. But we just think that that's a good practice. But we really do need it. And a couple of last year that we got, nowhere was the teacher's name anywhere. And so this is what we're requesting for the very first page. Okay, Mike.
Okay.
Okay, the executive summary. Now, I know many of you realize that probably that this would be written last, but as far as the executive summary goes, we want it right after they'll have a page with the name of their business on it, not their names, not your school, but a front page, so to speak. And then right after that, we'd like to see the executive summary. I think it's good for the reader to see that up front and then go further into the business plan. So in a sense of putting it in order, when they're finished, they just need to realize they need to insert that page right after their page with their business name on it. Does that make sense? Okay. So in the executive summary, they may choose to include other information than what is here. These are suggestions. These are things that are pretty common, and I didn't use a lot of jargon because I know we have students from 9th through 12th grade. Some have not been exposed to all of that at this point in time. So not to confuse them by any stretch of the imagination, I wanted to try to keep the language in this PowerPoint pretty simple, thinking that if you want to, you can just use it with your students. So if they can write this executive summary, shouldn't be probably really any more than a page for the amount of time they have and probably what they come up with, certainly not more than 2 pages. We do ask for double spacing for a lot of the business plan so that it's easier for people to read, and if the judges choose to print it out, they can make notes easier for themselves. Or 1.5 spaces, just enough to where it's fairly easy for maybe some older eyes to read. Let us know who their market is. Who are their customers? Who are they trying to direct this new product or service towards? And then, because the way the judges will look at this, they're going to say which business plans they think would have the best chance of being funded. They'll be rating it as they go through, but they need to be considering how much money would I really need to get this business off the ground. And I wanted to stress, I know that some of them will not be realistic. We get that. And I don't know, that might be a time for a guest speaker or someone to come in and sort of help them think through that. I don't know what your time frame is. You may not have time for that. The guidelines are not strict on this at all, but depending on what it is they're trying to do, what their startup costs might be, how much money do they think that they would be requesting from a funder. And by the way, the funders really like to see that they have some money that they're going to put in it too. That may be a fictitious amount. I understand they don't have pots of gold sitting around, but just so that they kind of have a realistic idea of what it might start to cost to start a business, and how much money the entrepreneur or the group of entrepreneurs would need to have from their own on their own. And then how will this money be used, which is obviously pretty important. Okay, Mike. All right, the business. Now we're ready for some detail. What is it that they're proposing? And how does it address an opportunity or an unmet need? In economics, we sort of avoid the word need, although when you're talking about products and services, many times we say, oh, I really need such and such. Well, those are all wants on a continuum, but in the literature, they do use the word need quite frequently. So I sort of left it out here, but that's what we're talking about. I think the thing that is probably the most essential at this point is to tell you that we're not looking for the next Boeing company or anything close to that. But we're looking for something because there's a need or your students recognize an opportunity that a new product or service comes to their mind, rather than saying, well, we don't have a Dairy Queen on our end of town, and so I would like to open one. Franchisees, yes, are considered entrepreneurs, but for this competition, we're looking for them to use their reasoning power, and they'll react to the scenario. I think it will be at their level. I think that they will reasonably enjoy the challenge that we give them online. So we're hoping that they will not come up with the next hula hoop unless there's some super innovation that they want to introduce to the market. Am I making any sense? Is that clear?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I just wanted to kind of dispel some of the ideas out there, because if you ask the students, well, you know, maybe there's a need that they see in their community, I'm sure there's plenty of them and that relate to them in particular, but it's not, it's solving a problem in their mind, but it's not like, I don't know, I'm trying to think of something really simple. I would always read them, the story of the lady who came up with whiteout. I mean, we know it was a mistake and so on, but why was that such a hit? Because we were sick of using typewriter erasers. It was messy, it didn't work. Somebody then came up with that kind of paper that was more erasable than just regular typing paper had been for years. Those are all ways that it made somebody's life easier, but yeah, it wasn't going to be, on the front page of every paper probably, but it was good because it was going to help people out, and it would have fulfilled a need. Okay, talking about what are the company's goals and then outlining some objectives. And so basically what the judges are looking for is, do the students know where this business is going? Do they see past next week? So within a year, within 2 years, where do they see their business being, or what is their goal for their business? And then what are those objectives that are going to lead them to that goal? Probably a timeline of some sort. I mean, it doesn't have to be a real timeline, but it can be if they wanted to do that. But just sort of outlining, by such and such a time we will have done this, and by the end of January we will have done this, and our board will be decided by such and such a date. So how aggressive are they, or how fast do they think they can be able to be up and running? And it's not that they have to have it the next day. That's not it. It needs to be realistic for what it is they're trying to do. Okay, we want to make sure that they have investigated the industry. So, if they have an idea for healthcare or technology or energy or whatever it is, they're reacting to this scenario. So whatever the industry would be, make sure that they need to understand that industry. And they need to have read about it and have done some investigation so they kind of know where will their idea fit in to the bigger picture. And why do they think their business will succeed? Tell us about their confidence in it, what they foresee in the future, and I guess how they think it's really going to help someone's life. Okay, Mike. Okay. Will they develop a product or a service? A lot of times our students don't think in terms of service. It's more abstract to them, but that is the way that our whole economy is moving. And so not that we're saying that they need to do it. They wouldn't get any more points whether they did a product or a service. But it would be nice to see some students think about services that will be helpful to all of us in the future, or as soon as they have it developed. But the idea is that they need to identify, and by putting it in a category, I think it just helps them to narrow down what it is they want to do that much more, and then sort of describe how it will work. So, if it's a mechanism of some kind, or a new tool, or new software, explain how this is going to work. What's the process? Now, they don't have to get completely super technical with this, and they don't have to hire any engineers by any stretch of the imagination. But they need to have a good enough vision of it themselves that they could describe to someone who said, well, tell me how this is going to work. And then they would have a complete enough response that it would convince the listener that, yes, they do understand what their product is and also, if they talk about this amongst themselves in the collaboration process, they will probably come up with different opinions, and this will force them to have to talk through it, because even though they've agreed on something to begin with, everybody might still have a different perception. So what advantages will it be to the marketplace, or what are the benefits going to be? In other words, why would someone want to use this product or would hire this service? And then again, kind of back to that same idea of the industry, where is it going to fit in the marketplace? Is it worldwide? Is it only in colder climates? Is it for a certain age group? Just specifically, where do they see it fitting in? And then, what's their competition in the marketplace, and how is their product different? Okay, Mike. Okay, the marketing plan. I know a lot of you really enjoyed teaching marketing, and you may go into much more depth, and you may want your students to go into much more depth and demonstrate what they know in the business plan, and that's absolutely fine with us. This is just kind of an outline to give them an idea what they should be thinking about as far as this project is concerned. And I can't stress enough that they do some research on their industry. So they understand what their competition is. They know how to market and what kinds of marketing plans work in that industry, because it's not the same across all different kinds of businesses, et cetera. Then, besides that research, how can they find out some data from potential customers? Would they be able to do any kind of survey, and in particular, would they be able to survey who their customer base is? So if their customer base wouldn't happen to be someone in their age group, then how could they survey people who are really their customer base? Because their peers responding to it, if it's not a good or a service for that peer, then that information isn't going to be as valid. So what were they able to do? And time may not allow. So maybe they would have to describe what they would do if they had time. What do they think, once their product is on the market, what percentage of the market do they think they might be able to capture? And they'll probably have to do some reading or some investigating, or maybe talk to someone that is in this field and see if they can help them kind of see what it's like when you try to break into a market, and what is a reasonable number that they might be able to expect to draw, at least at the beginning. And then thinking about what are the trends in this market. So what's the longevity of their good or service? Will it be something that we will need only temporarily because there's other things coming out, or other things are changing and that good or service might not be needed anymore? Or is it going to be something like the vacuum sweeper, which has innovated over years, but most of us still find that we have a need for a vacuum sweeper? What are the opportunities for future growth? And here, They can talk about even what their plans would be for the next version, so to speak, of their product, or how they would expand the service. Start with the basic service. What are their plans for maybe expanding that, adding to the service, and giving them a little bit more market share when they get their feet on the ground. And then wanting to be optimistic but also realistic, and thinking about what are the barriers that might be in their way and how can they overcome those so that they have a good plan, it's well thought out before they attempt to start up their business. Thank you, Mike. Okay, promoting your business. This could go on and on and on, and it ties in with marketing, I know, but we're curious as to how do they think they're going to get the word out? What process would they use, and what kind of a budget do they think it would take? Because sometimes they have really, really, really good ideas, but they don't understand that it would take almost all of their startup money just to do that kind of advertising. So what's realistic for what they're attempting to do, and what media are they going to use? Okay, Mike. Okay, pricing. Well, they need to figure out how do they determine price. We know from a lot of experience that students do not think about cost of production. And even if they do, they forget to include their own labor cost in there. So a little math lesson could go a long ways for them as far as pricing. I've worked with a lot of younger students, and they just pull the price out of the air. I know your students aren't going to do that, but really do some critical thinking on their own and see how they can kind of explain. If a judge would say to them, well, how did you come up with that price? Then they would know what their process was and they could explain it. So how does that pricing sort of match up with the research they've done, especially about their competition, similar products that are on the market or other services? Excuse me. This again is trying to encourage them to do that research and know what else is already happening out in the marketplace. And then when you give a price, what does that include? Is there some kind of a guarantee? Is there a warranty? What kind of customer service do they think that they should be able to offer to their clients? Okay, Mike. Distribution. Well, everything's about location, location, location. However, location now might be on the internet, not on a street corner. So they really need to think about how their product will be distributed best. How can they get the product out efficiently and in enough quantity without huge cost to them to get it into the marketplace. So where is it best for them to locate? It might not be in your city, in other words. They may have to start up their business 3 states over or something like that. And what channels will they use to distribute their product? And then if they don't have a storefront, if they're not doing retail, they'll still have to have some sort of storage or what am I trying to say? Warehouse or something of that nature. And if they're going retail, then what kind of space are they going to need, and can they afford that? And again, going back to location, then kind of weighing the best location against the cost that it would take to be able to secure that location. And again, what's the cost of retail space, or what are the alternatives to that? Okay, Mike. Potential sales. Okay, again, we're back to research. We just want them to do some forecasting and think about what they learned from their marketing research, history in the industry, and what do they think might be their best case and their worst case scenario, so that they can convince a judge that they've thought through this, they know what they would really hope to see in the market and what they would be pleased with, and then what would be so low that it might really make them reconsider their business to begin with. Okay, Mike. Operations. Okay. I listed under here, I listed resources because I think that our students often don't think about what are they really going to need to be able to pull this together. If you have 5 on a team, is that going to be adequate? Are you going to have enough diversity in talent, et cetera, people who are really dedicated to the new business to be able to pull that off? Or do you need to go out and are they going to have to find some, do some outsourcing and find some others who have a talent that is really necessary for their product, or someone who, you know, is an architect or an engineer or whatever, to be able to design the product that they have in mind? Or how many people would they need to have on staff if they're providing a service? And I put in parentheses after capital, I know they'll think about money, but in this instance I'm thinking more about what actual resources in terms of equipment, tools, etc., would they really need to be able to get started. And maybe they start out at a certain level and then they project that when our sales get to such and such, or our volume has gone up to this level, then we're going to consider buying something that's faster, or renting it, or we're looking for a used piece of equipment. We think we can get by with that. And then the natural resources that would go into their production. So basically under operations, we're thinking about their production plans and the resources that they're going to need. Okay, Mike. Okay, personnel, and I use the term personnel since actually, you know, they may need more employees or this outsourcing that they might have to do. So what kind of ownership structure are they planning? And then it's pretty important that they talk about the members of their team and what talent and skills they have that they're going to bring to this startup business. So how will everybody be able to contribute? And who will do this day-by-day management? What's that going to look like? So what role will each of these people on the team take? Will they need other employees? We know labor is expensive. So will they need additional labor, and would they consider just hiring temp work from time to time as they needed it, rather than bringing someone on full-time and having all of those extra costs of a full-time employee? What would be their pay structure? In other words, the idea that how long might it be before the owners of the company can start paying themselves a salary? But that's the ownership. What about those that are working for them? What kind of skills are these people have? What are their talents? And how much do you have to pay for that kind of gifts that those people have? And would they need to invest in special training of some sort, either for themselves or for employees? And if so, how much might that cost? Okay, Mike. Accounting. First of all, what are their sales policies going to be? Are they going to accept credit, or are they going to have an actual purchase order process, or are they only going to take cash? How are they planning to set this up? Because they have to really think about cash flow. and so many of them aren't used to that. So, you know, they invest all of this money producing this inventory or getting supplies ready for their service, and they deliver, but then if they don't get paid right away, how do they have the money to replenish their supplies or their inventory to put more product out there when they may not have already received payment from their first clients? How would they handle that? By collection, the thought really is that what would they do? What would they do if they did extend credit and they weren't getting paid on time? Just so they might think. This doesn't have to be huge detail, but what would their policies be? How would they be prepared, I guess, to deal with that kind of a situation? Analyzing their cost of production, project what the startup costs might be, and then come up with the financial plan. And what are their projections? You know, do they think they'll start out making a profit, or do they think that they might just break even at the beginning? How much money do they have? How deep are their pockets to where they can maintain this business, even if they're just breaking even? How long can they go? So sort of predicting what their cash flow might be. Okay, Mike. All right, that concludes that part. We have one other short piece for you, and this is mostly talking about what I call the nuts and bolts. And this is really very self-explanatory, and I don't think I need to spell anything out here. It won't be any surprise to any of you. But I thought if I put it together, maybe you could show it to your students, because hearing it from someone else I know is sometimes more beneficial than, yeah, you've told us that before. Yeah, we know. You know, well, here it is in black and white, or green and orange, or whatever. Mike? Okay, we can skip this page because it's the same one in the other. And the scoring guide will be available hopefully tomorrow at that web address. And you know, we're just laying out an outline. So these are the items, these are the things that they need to know that the judges will be looking for. But attention to detail is important. Okay. Again, we've already talked about this title page, so we can skip that one too, I guess. Okay. Again, oh, Mike, this isn't the nuts and bolts one. I don't know if I can, let me see. I thought something sounded a little repetitive. Are you finding it?
Webinar 3.
It's part 2.
Yeah, that's it. That's what this one's called. Well, 1 second. Let me just look real quick.
Okay, let me look here on my own. Oh, I don't have control of my screen, do I? Let me see. Oh, well, here's another little glitch for the day. And I should have made a misname. I can talk through it if I need to, and then we can post it. But oh, boy. All right. I'm not coming up with it. It must be on my other computer. Okay. We will post. We will put it up there. It's all very, very down-to-earth information, but it's talking about, for example, we noticed that some of the business plans last year did not flow very well, and we understood that they had to divide up their work. And when they divided up their work, what they found was that people were writing different pieces, and they put it together, but it didn't read very well. And so what they had was all kinds of things totally out of order. So as the judge was reading it, they're thinking, well, they didn't even address that, you know. And then 3 pages back, they'd find a comment that should have probably been in another place as far as the business plan was concerned. So we really recommend that they completely read through it before they hand it in. And again, that's why there's 2 weeks this year instead of 1, to give them more time to do that polishing. We did see some evidence last year of some cutting and pasting, and it was definitely work that some students had borrowed from, and it could have even been their own work for all I knew. But when you have sentences in there that are totally out of the blue and don't connect to anything else they've written, then, you know, it kind of tells you that, well, where did all of this come from to begin with? So we don't want to put so much pressure on them that they feel that they have to go out and find, you know, some Harvard business plan. We want them to learn the process. That's what the whole competition is all about, and to walk through it on their own, but in kind of a realistic setting. So again, let them know, and like I said, this will be posted tonight, but let them know that we have people that are looking at their communication skills. Do they use good punctuation? Grammar, oh my goodness. You know, some of their English teachers would just flip. Punctuation, capitalization, and using side headings is very helpful. So if they're addressing part of the scoring guide, excuse me, or whatever you would call that section in your business plan format, then that's what we want to see them do. We need some side headings. And what would be very, very helpful is page numbers on every page. Because some of these judges will print out the work, and if anything gets mixed up, it takes them a long time to sort it back out and figure out what goes with what. So treating it like they were doing an essay or something else where they have page numbers on there. Whenever they want to cite research that they've read or what they've learned, or where they got their details from, that's fabulous. And we just want them to cite and tell us where they got their information. Doesn't have to be, a huge, big MLA and all of this kind of stuff, and putting all that kind of pressure on them. Maybe they could just take a page at the back and cite where their references were, number them, and then just put that at the very end. That would be sufficient. I wish I had that right in front of me so I could think of all the things that I put in there. Again, like I said, it's all pretty straightforward. It's probably about 8 slides at the most, and very. Yeah, you have a question?
Is this supposed to be in like a PowerPoint document, or it's going to be in a Word document?
Word.
Submitted to you.
Word.
Word?
Word, I think. Now, if they want to make a PowerPoint to accompany it, or even if they want to make, a small video or whatever, but I think the judges will get the best sense, because a PowerPoint doesn't have all the information in between, you know, and they're not going to be physically with the judge to be able to explain, you know, and read between the lines. But if they want to make a PowerPoint to accompany it, that's great. I mean, you know, we'll take it. That's fine. Mike, do you have any other comments about that?
No, that's it. I think
So
I think that having the Word document, at least, you know, at the minimum, I would say.
Yeah, I really think it needs to be a Word document. And if they have, I didn't put anything in here about illustrations. That's totally up to them. If they have charts or graphs or whatever that they want to put in there, that's up to them. That's totally up to them. I know sometimes we can get kind of hung up on making things pretty, and then we lose some of the content. So our first objective is the content, and just that it's organized well enough that the judges can look at the scoring guide and look at what they've written and know that what they're reading on the student's business plan relates to this section over here on the scoring guide. Because sometimes there was rambling and a lot of repetition, saying the same things over and over again, and it became tedious for the judges, but also it kind of indicated that they hadn't really thought through their plan real well. Okay, I'll straighten out this nuts and bolts thing. It's on my other computer. I evidently saved it under the wrong name, and we'll get that posted. Does anybody have any other questions?
I have another question.
Yes.
It's on your scoring guide that has like analysis slide and describe target customer and competitors, characteristics of a desirable business location, will also identify blah. You've got on there something about at least that contained at least 4 aspects of requested information with some degree of detail. Is the template that you're talking about the actual PowerPoint you just went through?
You know what? You just broke up really bad when you were talking. Did you hear, Mike?
Guess not.
Okay, tell me where he's got control of my screen. So where was it you were reading, and then I'll read it.
I'm actually looking on the scoring guide.
Right.
Okay, and you've got like under product or service.
Right. Okay.
You have like
it's unique features, and
right.
Yeah. In other words, they understand their product so well that they can tell you. In other words, they would be selling me right now and telling me why this product is going to benefit me, why I need it. So they understand it well enough that they can explain it in that detail. Does that make sense?
Okay. You're not actually referring to another document that you have to have.
No.
Okay.
No, not at all. And,
all right.
and if you have any questions, please let us know. Mike's posted this, but there may still be some changes because, like I said, I'm still waiting on some feedback from one other person. So, this is as close as we've got right now. The other one will be posted by tomorrow. And this may be the final one. I just haven't heard from this person. I value their opinion. I want to hear what they have to say.
Is there any way we could get access to like UMKC's library so that we could actually access like IVIS World and get some reports about industry information and stuff like that?
That's a great question. Would you mind to send me an email regarding that, and then I can find out what the process would be and let you know?
That'd be great.
Okay?
Yeah.
All right.
I'll do it.
Any other questions? Well, thank you for joining us today, and sorry about the glitches. 1 point for Mike and 1 point for me, so